The silver ship glided through space like a knife through water. Its smooth surface reflected starlight as it approached Earth. Inside the Zarkon diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Zektal watched the blue planet grow larger on the view screen. His forearms crossed behind his back, he smiled. Another primitive species to add to their collection. Send the standard greeting. Zektal ordered. Let these humans know they stand before the might of the Zarkon Federation. The message went out across all frequencies. On Earth, alarms blared in the control room of the Earth Defense Force. Captain Jack Morrison jumped from his chair, coffee spilling across his desk. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," called out Lieutenant Amy Turner from her station. Her fingers danced across the console. It's not from Earth." Jack wiped coffee from his uniform and moved to her side. "Put it on screen." The alien face appeared, blue-skinned with large black eyes. "Greetings, primitive Earth creatures. I am Ambassador Zektal of the Zarkon Federation. We come to offer you membership in our glorious empire. Surrender your weapons and submit to our rule, and we shall share our advanced technology with you." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's quite an introduction." "Captain, they're powering up some kind of weapon system," Amy reported, her voice steady despite the tension. On the alien ship, Zektal turned to his weapons officer. "Demonstrate our power. Target that asteroid." A beam of pure energy shot from the Zarkon ship. It struck a nearby asteroid, turning the massive rock into vapor in seconds. The display was meant to intimidate, to show Earth how outmatched they were. Zektal's voice filled the Earth control room again. "As you can see, resistance is futile. Our energy weapons can destroy planets. What do you say, humans?" Jack looked at Amy and grinned. "What do you think, Lieutenant? Should we show them what we've got?" Amy's eyes sparkled. "I thought you'd—" "Never ask, sir." Jack activated the comm system. "Ambassador Zektal, thank you for the demonstration. Allow us to show you something in return." He turned to Amy. "Fire the railgun. Standard slug. Let's not scare them too much." "Yes, sir." Amy's fingers flew across her console. Railgun charged. Target locked. The Earth Defense Orbital Platform hummed with power. A simple tungsten rod, no bigger than a telephone pole, launched into space. No fancy lights, no energy beams, just a solid piece of metal moving at incredible speed. On the Zarkon ship, the sensors barely registered the projectile. "What is this?" Zektal laughed. "They throw rocks at us, activate shields." The tungsten rod hit the Zarkon shields. But, instead of bouncing off, it punched through like a needle through cloth. Alarm screamed throughout the alien vessel. "Impossible," Zektal shouted. "Our shields can withstand the heat of a star." The rod continued its path, grazing the ship's hull and tearing a long gash in the supposedly indestructible armor. Atmosphere vented into space before emergency systems sealed the breach. Jack's face appeared on the Zarkon view screen. "Ambassador, I think there's been a misunderstanding. You see, we humans have a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons, but a chunk of metal moving fast enough, that's a different story." Zektal's blue skin had turned pale. But that's so primitive." "Primitive?" Jack chuckled. "We've been perfecting these weapons for thousands of years. While you were developing fancy energy beams, we were figuring out how to throw rocks really, really fast." Amy added from her station, "Sir, their shields are down to 40%. Should I prepare another shot?" "No need, Lieutenant." Jack addressed the alien again. "Ambassador, I suggest you power down your weapons. We have plenty more where that came from, and the next one might not miss your engines." Zektal slumped in his command chair. In all their encounters with other species, the Zarkon had never faced weapons their shields couldn't stop. The humans hadn't even used their most powerful weapons. Just a simple piece of metal. "Perhaps," Zektal said slowly, "we should discuss this membership offer as equals." Jack smiled. "Now you're talking sense, Ambassador. Welcome to Earth." The Zarkon ship hung in space, its perfect hull now scarred by a single human weapon. Inside, Ambassador Zektal paced back and forth, his forearms waving in frustration. His science officer, Vrix, studied the sensor data with growing confusion. This makes no sense, Vrix muttered. Our shields are rated to withstand plasma storms and quantum torpedoes. How did a simple metal rod penetrate them? Zektal stopped pacing. Get me a visual link to the human captain, I must understand this. On Earth, Jack Morrison leaned back in his chair watching the alien ship on the main screen. Amy Turner stood beside him, a slight smile on her face. They're requesting another communication, sir, she reported. Put them through, Jack said. Let's see what our new friends want to talk about. Zektal's face appeared, his composure somewhat restored. Captain Morrison, I admit your weapon surprised us. But surely this is some kind of trick. No primitive projectile could breach Zarkon shields. Jack glanced at Amy, who nodded. He turned back to the screen. No trick, Ambassador, just basic physics. Amy, why don't you explain it to our guests? Amy stepped forward. Your shields are designed to disperse energy, Ambassador. They spread, outheat and radiation. But kinetic energy is different. When something with mass hits your shield at high velocity, all that energy concentrates in one tiny point. That's impossible, Vrix interrupted from behind Zektal. Our shields should stop anything. Not quite, said a new voice. Commander Bill Roberts, head of Earth's weapons development, entered the frame. Your shields are like a net designed to catch butterflies. Works great for butterflies, but throw a bowling ball at it and it goes right through. Zektal's large eyes narrowed. You're saying our most advanced defensive technology has a fundamental flaw? Not a flaw, Bill explained. Just a limitation. Every shield system has trade-offs. Yours sacrifices kinetic protection for better energy defense. Ours do the opposite. Show me, Zektal demanded. I want to see these weapons of yours, Jack. Nodded to Amy, who brought up a display. This is a standard railgun, she explained. It uses electromagnetic fields to accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. No explosives, no fancy energy fields. Just magnetism and metal. The display showed various human weapons, machine guns, artillery shells, missiles. Each one relied on the simple principle of throwing something very fast at the target. But these are ancient designs, Zektal protested. The Galactic Council abandoned such weapons millennia ago. And that was your mistake, Bill said. While you were making everything run on energy, we kept improving what worked. Our bullets are made from materials your scientists haven't even discovered. Our guidance systems can put a missile through a window from orbit. This is madness, Vrix exclaimed. You cling to primitive technology when you could have plasma cannons and antimatter bombs. We have those too, Jack said casually. But why use a fusion reactor when a hammer will do the job? Zektal sat heavily in his command chair. All this time we thought humans were backward. We came to uplift you to bring you into the modern age. Maybe we can teach each other, Jack suggested. You show us your energy weapons, we show you how to make shields that stop kinetic attacks. You would share this knowledge? Zektal asked, surprised. Of course, Jack smiled. That's what friends do, but first you need to stop talking about surrender and start talking about partnership. On the bridge of the Zarkon ship, the crew exchanged glances. They had encountered hundreds of species, conquered dozens of worlds. None had ever damaged their ships with such simple weapons. Very well, Zektal said finally. We will speak as equals, but I must ask, if these are your simple weapons, what are your advanced ones like? Jack's smile widened. Stick around, Ambassador. You might get to see them someday, but trust me, you'll prefer the railguns. Amy checked her console. Sir, I'm detecting more Zarkon ships approaching. Friends of yours? Jack asked Zektal. The ambassador nodded. My fleet. I should inform them of our new understanding. Good idea, Jack agreed. Because we have a lot more railguns, and I'd hate to scratch any more of your pretty ships. 3 weeks later, Dr. Susan Miller stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral space station Harmony. Representatives from 50 different species filled the circular chamber, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. The Zarkon had called this emergency meeting after their encounter with Earth. Susan adjusted her glasses and looked at the datapad in her hand. She was nervous but determined. Humanity's future in the galaxy depended on this presentation. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady. I am here to explain why human weapons technology poses no threat to galactic peace. A ripple of disbelief moved through the chamber. The insectoid Vri ambassador clicked, its mandibles. No threat? Your primitive weapons penetrated Zarkon shields. That makes you very dangerous. Not dangerous, Susan corrected. Different. Let me show you something. She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a timeline of human weapons development, from stone axes to modern firearms. For thousands of years, humans have refined the art of projectile weapons. While your civilizations moved to energy-based systems, we kept improving what we had. The display changed to show a modern bullet. This is a standard armor-piercing round. The core is made of depleted uranium, surrounded by a steel jacket. The tip is designed to concentrate all its energy into the smallest possible point. Barbaric, muttered the ethereal Laxian representative. Effective, Susan countered. Your shields work by dispersing energy across a wide area, but kinetic weapons don't disperse. They focus all their force into one spot. She brought up another image. This is a railgun projectile. No explosives, no radiation, just a solid piece of tungsten moving at 7 kilometers per second. Your shields aren't designed to stop it because you stopped using kinetic weapons thousands of years ago. The Corvin ambassador, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit, spoke up. Why did you not advance to energy weapons like the rest of us? Susan smiled. We did. We have lasers, particle beams, and plasma weapons. But we never abandoned what worked. That's the human way. We add to our arsenal. We don't replace it. She showed them footage from human military exercises, tanks firing shells, soldiers with rifles, artillery launching projectiles in perfect arcs. Every civilization here gave up these weapons when they discovered energy technology. You saw them as primitive, outdated. We saw them as reliable and effective. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zarkon ambassador, still bearing the shame of his damaged ship, spoke carefully. Are you saying that every shield system in the galaxy has this weakness? Yes, Susan said simply. Your shields can stop a sun's worth of energy, but not a simple bullet moving fast enough. Panic began to spread through the chamber. If human weapons could penetrate any shield, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift overnight. Please, calm down, Susan raised her hands. Humans don't want to conquer anyone. We want to trade, to learn, to explore. But we also want you to understand that we're not primitive. We're practical. She changed the display again, showing human cities, art, and scientific achievements. We put rovers on Mars while still using gunpowder. We split the atom while still forging steel. We don't abandon old technology just because something new comes along. The elderly Proxian ambassador leaned forward. What do you propose, Dr. Miller? Knowledge exchange, Susan replied. We'll share our kinetic weapon technology if you share your energy systems. Together we can create shields that stop both types of weapons. Everyone becomes safer. Murmurs of agreement began to spread. The logic was sound. If humans joined the galactic community as equals, sharing their knowledge, everyone would benefit. There's something else you should know, Susan added. What you've seen are our conventional weapons. We have other systems that combine kinetic and energy principles, things that make railguns look like toys. The chamber fell silent again. But those, Susan smiled, are for another day. Today let's talk about friendship and cooperation, because that's what humans really want, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Lieutenant Kyle Baker stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Council station. Below him, in the testing chamber, dozens of alien scientists set up their equipment. They had asked for a demonstration of human weapons technology, and Kyle was happy to provide it. Are you ready, Lieutenant? Asked Professor Lisa White, adjusting her lab coat. She had been assigned as the scientific liaison for this demonstration. Kyle nodded and checked his tablet. The test objects are in position. We'll start with something simple. In the chamber below, a series of targets had been arranged. Each one was protected by different types of alien shield technology. The Zarkon had provided their best shields. as had the Corvin, the Vree, and several other species. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa spoke into her microphone, addressing the alien observers. We'll begin with a standard firearms demonstration. Kyle pressed a button. A mechanical arm extended into the chamber, holding what looked like an ordinary rifle. The aliens murmured among themselves. Many had never seen such a primitive weapon. This is a .50 caliber rifle, Lisa explained. It fires a bullet weighing about 40 grams at a velocity of 900 meters per second. The rifle fired. The sound echoed through the chamber as the bullet struck the first shield. To everyone's surprise, it punched clean through, leaving a perfect hole. "Impossible," shouted the Vree scientist. "That shield can withstand a direct hit from a plasma cannon." Lisa smiled. The plasma spreads its energy across the shield surface. The bullet concentrates all its energy into an area smaller than your fingernail. Kyle moved to the next demonstration. Now for something more interesting. A large metal tube rose from the floor. It looked like a simple pipe. Nothing fancy or high-tech about it. "This is a railgun," Lisa announced. "It uses electromagnetic forces to accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds." The railgun hummed to life. There was no visible beam, no flash of light. Just a sudden crack as the projectile broke the sound barrier several times over. It tore through 3 different shield types before embedding itself in the reinforced wall. The alien scientists were frantically taking readings, their instruments struggling to understand what they were seeing. "But there's no energy signature," exclaimed the Corvin researcher. "How can it have such power without an energy source?" "It has energy," Lisa corrected. "Kinetic energy, mass times velocity squared. The projectile is moving at 8 kilometers per second. At that speed, even a small object carries tremendous force." Kyle grinned and moved to his favorite part. "Now let me show you what happens when we get creative." A platform rose, carrying what looked like a simple metal rod, about the size of a telephone pole. "This is a kinetic bombardment system," Lisa explained. "We call it rods from God. It's nothing more than a tungsten rod dropped from orbit." A simulation played on the screens, showing the rod falling from space, gaining speed as gravity pulled it down. "By the time it hits the ground, it's moving at 11 kilometers per second, Lisa continued. "The impact releases energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon, but with no radiation." The alien scientists were speechless. The Proxian representative finally found his voice. "You can destroy cities with falling metal?" "We can destroy continents if we make the rods big enough," Kyle said matter-of-factly. Lisa quickly added, "But we don't. These are defensive weapons, last resorts. The point is that sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective." The demonstration continued. Kyle showed them shaped charges that could penetrate any armor, bullets that could curve around corners, and artillery shells that could adjust their trajectory mid-flight. "All of this," Lisa concluded, "is based on principles we've understood for centuries. We just kept refining them while everyone else moved on to energy weapons." The Zarkon scientist raised a tentacle. "But why? Why stick with such primitive concepts?" Kyle walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "Because in space, in combat, in any crisis, you want weapons that work every time, no matter what. Energy weapons need power sources, complex systems, perfect conditions. But a gun? A gun just needs someone to pull the trigger." The attack came without warning. Zorax warships dropped out of hyperspace above the human colony on New Haven. Their sleek black vessels blocked out the sun, casting shadows across the settlement below. Colonel Ryan Johnson ran into the command center, still buttoning his uniform. "Status report. 12 Zorax battleships, sir," reported Sergeant Maria Rodriguez. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." Ryan looked at the tactical display. The Zorax ships bristled with plasma cannons and quantum disruptors, the most advanced energy weapons in the galaxy. Against them, New Haven had only conventional Earth weapons. "Send a message to Earth Command," Ryan ordered. "Tell them we're under attack. Then power up all defensive systems." The Zorax commander appeared on screen, his reptilian face twisted in a sneer. "Humans, your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Surrender now and we may show mercy." Ryan stepped forward. "This is Colonel Johnson of Earth Defense Force. You are violating human space. Withdraw immediately." The Zorax laughed. "Your kinetic weapons may work against weak shields, but Zorax technology is superior. Observe." A beam of pure energy shot from the lead ship, striking the colony's shield dome. The shield held, but barely. "Sir, our shields won't take many more hits like that," Maria warned. "Then let's not give them the chance." Ryan turned to his weapons officer. "Lieutenant Wong, activate the defense grid. All batteries, fire at will." Around the colony, hidden bunkers opened. Artillery pieces rose from underground silos. Anti-aircraft guns swiveled toward the sky. The familiar sound of human weapons filled the air. Shells and missiles streaked upward. The Zorax shields flared as they tried to deflect the incoming projectiles. But just like with the Zarkon, the kinetic weapons punched through. "Impossible!" the Zorax commander shouted as his ship rocked from multiple impacts. "Increase shield power." "They can increase it all they want," Ryan muttered. "Won't make a difference." The human artillery kept firing. Armor-piercing rounds tore through Zorax hull plating. Missiles found weak points in their armor. One Zorax ship listed to the side, smoke pouring from a dozen holes. "Their weapons are failing, sir," Maria reported. "The electromagnetic pulses from our explosions are interfering with their energy systems." Ryan nodded. This was another advantage of kinetic weapons. They created electromagnetic interference that disrupted energy-based technology. The Zorax tried to return fire, but their plasma beams flickered and died. Their quantum disruptors fizzled out. Meanwhile, human guns kept firing, reliable as ever. "Deploy ground forces," the Zorax commander ordered in desperation. Drop pods fell from the ships carrying Zorax soldiers in power armor. They landed outside the colony, their energy rifles glowing with deadly power. "Send out the infantry," Ryan commanded. Standard loadout. Human soldiers emerged from the colony, carrying simple rifles and machine guns. The Zorax warriors laughed at the sight. Their powered armor could withstand plasma blasts. What could bullets do? They found out quickly. The human soldiers opened fire, their armor-piercing rounds punching through the alien power suits like paper. The Zorax energy weapons, affected by the electromagnetic interference from the ongoing artillery barrage, began to malfunction. "My weapon won't fire!" a Zorax soldier screamed as human bullets struck his armor. "The power cells are dead," another shouted. Rain began to fall, making things worse for the aliens. Their energy weapons sputtered and failed completely in the wet conditions, but the human guns kept firing, unaffected by the weather. "This is impossible." The Zorax commander watched his forces crumble. "We have the most advanced weapons in the galaxy." Ryan activated the comm. "That's your problem. You rely too much on technology. Our weapons work in any condition. Rain, snow, sandstorms, doesn't matter. A gun is a gun." The battle lasted less than an hour. 3 Zorax ships were destroyed, 4 heavily damaged. The rest fled into hyperspace, leaving their ground forces to surrender. As his soldiers rounded up the Zorax prisoners, Ryan surveyed the battlefield. Not a single human life had been lost. "Sir," Maria approached him. "Earth Command is asking for a full report." Ryan smiled grimly. "Tell them that sometimes the old ways are the best ways, and that the rest of the galaxy is about to learn why you don't mess with human colonies." Dr. Karen Smith stood in her laboratory, surrounded by containers of various chemicals. The Corvin Alliance had invited her to demonstrate another aspect of human weapons technology, one that terrified them even more than kinetic projectiles. "You're telling me," the Corvin general's hologram flickered, "that humans still use chemical reactions for weapons?" Karen nodded, carefully measuring a powder into a beaker. "Chemistry is the foundation of everything. While you developed energy weapons, we mastered the art of making things go boom." She held up a small block of clay-like substance. "This is C4, a plastic explosive developed in the 20th century, completely stable until triggered." The Corvin scientists in the observation room leaned forward, their energy forms pulsing with curiosity. Watch this, Karen said. She placed the C4 against a thick steel plate, attached a detonator, and stepped back behind a protective shield. The explosion was sharp and focused. When the smoke cleared, the steel plate had a perfect hole blown through it. That's impossible, a Corvan scientist protested. Our scans show no exotic particles, no quantum fluctuations. How can a simple chemical reaction penetrate military-grade armor? Karen smiled. Shape charges. We focus the explosion into a narrow jet that concentrates all the force into one point. Same principle as our kinetic weapons. Concentration of energy. She moved to another table. But that's just the beginning. Let me show you something really interesting. Karen mixed two clear liquids. They turned bright orange and began to smoke. Hypergolic fuel. It ignites on contact. No spark needed. No power source required. Perfect reliability. The demonstration continued. She showed them thermite that burned hot enough to melt through spaceship hulls. Napalm that stuck to surfaces and couldn't be extinguished. Smoke grenades that blocked. Sensors and energy weapons. Your antimatter bombs are impressive, Karen admitted. But they need containment fields, power sources, and perfect conditions. Our explosives, they work anywhere, anytime. General Kor, commander of the Corvan fleet, materialized in the room. His energy form crackled with concern. We've received reports that humans breached the Vraxian fortress. It was supposed to be impenetrable. Karen pulled up a video feed. It showed human combat engineers approaching the massive alien structure. The fortress walls were made of quantum-locked metal, impossible to breach with energy weapons. Watch what happens, she said. The engineers placed small charges at key points along the wall, not randomly but with careful precision. They retreated to a safe distance and triggered the explosives. The explosion seemed small, underwhelming. But then cracks appeared in the quantum-locked metal. The cracks spread and suddenly an entire section of the wall crumbled. How? General Kor demanded. Those walls can withstand direct hits from star cruisers. Sympathetic resonance, Karen explained. We calculated the natural frequency of your quantum-locked metal. The explosives were tuned to match that frequency. Instead of trying to overpower your defenses, we made them tear themselves apart. She showed them more examples. Fuel-air explosives that created pressure waves strong enough to disable energy shields. Chemical weapons that corroded the most. Advanced alloys. Simple fireworks modified to overwhelm targeting systems. But the most powerful chemical weapon, Karen said seriously, is knowledge. Understanding how materials react, how energy transfers, how structures fail. That's what makes our weapons effective. General Kor's form dimmed. We abandoned chemical weapons millennia ago. Thought they were too primitive, too dirty. That was your mistake, Karen replied. You see chemistry as primitive. We see it as fundamental. Everything in the universe is chemistry, including your energy weapons. She held up a small vial of clear liquid. This is a compound that neutralizes the quantum bonds in your power cells. One drop and your most advanced weapons become useless. The Corvan delegation fell silent. They had come to learn about human explosives, thinking them crude and simple. Instead, they discovered a level of chemical mastery that made their technology seem limited. We're not barbarians, Karen said softly. We're chemists. And chemistry, when properly applied, is the most powerful force in the universe. Admiral Steve Carter stood before the assembled Galactic Senate, his uniform crisp and his expression serious. Representatives from every major civilization filled the grand chamber, all waiting to hear humanity's final statement on weapons technology. Distinguished members of the Senate, Steve began, his voice carrying across the vast room. For months you've questioned why humans maintain our primitive weapons. Today, I'll give you the answer. He pressed a button, and a holographic display showed two soldiers. One wore advanced power armor with energy weapons, the other carried a simple rifle and wore basic combat gear. This soldier, Steve pointed to the armored figure, represents your military philosophy, advanced technology, energy shields, power, weapons. Impressive, but vulnerable. The display changed to show the armored soldier in various situations. His weapons failed in heavy rain. His power armor shut down in extreme cold. His energy shields collapsed under sustained kinetic fire. This soldier, Steve indicated the simply equipped human, represents our philosophy: basic, reliable, adaptable. The human soldier fought in every condition: rain, snow, desert heat, zero gravity. His weapons never failed. When his rifle jammed, he cleared it in seconds. When he ran out of ammunition, he used his knife. But why? Asked the Laxian senator. Why not advance like the rest of us? Steve smiled grimly. We did advance, but we learned something you forgot. Technology fails, power runs out, systems break down. When that happens, you need something that just works. He showed them footage from human history. Soldiers in World War II fighting with bolt-action rifles. Modern troops using weapons based on designs from the 1960s. Special forces carrying knives unchanged for centuries. Every civilization here made the same mistake, Steve continued. You saw energy weapons and abandoned everything else. You put all your faith in technology and forgot the basics. The display changed to show a graph. This is the reliability curve for weapon systems. Energy weapons start high but drop sharply under adverse conditions. Kinetic weapons remain steady. But surely, protested the VRI ambassador, advancement means moving beyond primitive tools? Is a hammer primitive because it's simple? Steve asked. Is mathematics primitive because it's ancient? Some things don't need improvement. They need perfection. He showed them the evolution of human firearms. Each generation more reliable, more accurate, more deadly. Not through exotic technology, but through refinement of basic principles. Your ships need fusion reactors to fire weapons, Steve said. Ours can fight with no power at all. Your soldiers need charging stations, ours need bullets. Which is truly more advanced? The Senate murmured as the implications sank in. Steve pressed his advantage. We kept developing both paths. Energy weapons for when they work best, kinetic weapons for when they're needed. We didn't choose between old and new. We chose both. He displayed tactical scenarios. Urban combat where energy weapons were too destructive. Space battles where kinetic weapons ignored shields. Guerrilla warfare where simple guns outperformed plasma rifles. The greatest human innovation wasn't any weapon, Steve explained. It was understanding that sometimes the old ways are better. Sometimes simple beats complex. The Proxian senator stood. You're saying we should abandon our technology? No, Steve shook his head. I'm saying you should remember what you abandoned. A sword still cuts when batteries die. A bow still shoots when generators fail. A rock still kills when aimed. Correctly. He showed them one final image, a human soldier from ancient times beside a modern marine. Both carried similar weapons. A blade, a projectile weapon, armor. Thousands of years, and the basics haven't changed. Because they work. Your ancestors knew this. They fought with similar weapons before they discovered energy technology. Steve's voice grew firm. Humanity's strength isn't our weapons. It's our wisdom in keeping what works while pursuing what's new. We never forgot that in the end, warfare comes down to putting force where it's needed. Everything else is just detail. The Senate sat in stunned silence. They had come expecting to judge humanity's primitive nature. Instead, they faced a mirror showing their own limitations. The question isn't why we kept our old weapons, Steve concluded. The question is, why did you throw away yours? 6 months after Admiral Carter's speech, the galaxy had changed. Human military advisors now trained alien forces across known space. Captain Tyler Brooks led the first mixed unit, humans and aliens fighting side by side. Remember, Tyler told, his squad of Zarkon, Vree, and human soldiers, your fancy gun is just a club when the power dies. Learn to use it both ways. The aliens struggled at first. They found human training brutal and basic. Push-ups in mud, running with heavy packs, hand-to-hand combat. No energy shields, no power armor, just flesh and determination. Why must we suffer like this? Complained Veclor, a young Zarkon warrior after crawling through an obstacle course. Because suffering builds strength, Tyler replied. And strength keeps you alive when technology fails. Across the galaxy, military academies added human instructors. Ancient martial arts returned to curriculums. Factories began producing kinetic weapons alongside energy systems. The balance of power shifted as species rediscovered forgotten skills. The real test came when pirates attacked a mining colony in the Outer Rim. The colony's defenders had both energy and kinetic weapons, thanks to human training. Energy shields. Up! The colony commander ordered as pirate ships approached. Kinetic batteries ready, added Lieutenant Sandra Cole, the human advisor. The pirates fired their plasma cannons, confident in their superior firepower, but the colony's new defenses held. When the pirates' shields adapted to energy weapons, the defenders switched to railguns. When electromagnetic interference disrupted targeting systems, they used manual aim. The pirates retreated in confusion, unable to adapt to the mixed tactics. We've created monsters, joked the pirate captain as his damaged ship limped away. Aliens with human weapons training? The galaxy will never be the same. He was right. The Zorax Empire, humbled by their defeat at New Haven, requested human military exchange programs. The Corvin Alliance developed hybrid weapons combining chemical explosives with energy systems. Even the peaceful Laxians began carrying ceremonial daggers, just in case. On Earth, children still played with toy guns while their parents worked on quantum computers. Ancient sword-fighting schools taught alongside virtual reality training. Humanity had shown the galaxy that progress didn't mean abandoning the past. At the annual Galactic Military Conference, representatives gathered to discuss the new reality. General Zorak of the reformed Zorax military addressed the assembly. We thought humans were primitive, he admitted. We were wrong. They understood something we had forgotten, that true strength comes from mastery of all tools, not just the newest ones. Dr. Susan Miller, now Earth's ambassador for military technology, smiled from her seat. Beside her sat Admiral Carter, Colonel Johnson, and the other humans who had changed galactic warfare forever. The universe is safer now, Susan whispered to Carter. Not because weapons are weaker, but because they're more balanced. Carter nodded. And because everyone understands that shiny doesn't mean better. The conference ended with a demonstration. A human marine and a Zarkon warrior stood side by side. Both carried energy rifles and kinetic sidearms. Both wore armor that could stop plasma and bullets. Both knew hand-to-hand combat and advanced tactics. This is the future, declared the conference chairman. Not human or alien, not primitive or advanced, but combined, the best of all worlds. As the delegates departed, Tyler Brooks watched his mixed unit running drills. Humans and aliens moved as one, each bringing their strengths to the team. Energy weapons and gunpowder, plasma shields and ceramic armor, ancient wisdom and new technology. A young Vree soldier approached him. Captain, I still don't understand. Why did humans keep their old weapons when they could have focused only on advancement? Tyler picked up a rock from the ground. Because sometimes, he said, tossing it gently, the simplest solution is the best one. And because we learned that advanced doesn't always mean better, it just means different. The soldier caught the rock, understanding dawning in his compound eyes. Above them, starships powered by fusion reactors carried Marines with gunpowder weapons. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson. Never forget what works, even as you reach for the stars.